everybody, and welcome back to the Bay Bolts channel for this episode of Quick Strike. As always, my name is Jake Ricker, and today I'm just here by myself, but that's not going to stop us from talking about this 2-1 victory over the Detroit Red Wings. A really good game overall for the Tampa Bay Lightning. So let's get right into things and do a quick little recap for this game before we get into the positives and negatives from this one. So start things off, Ross Colton got the scoring open for the Tampa Bay Lightning. They played a fantastic first 20 minutes in this game, some of the best we've seen all season. Ross Colton's been excellent in his game that he's been playing recently as well. We'll get to him a little bit later. And then it was Braden Point, who's been on a little bit struggle in the last 5 games. Last 2 games, though, he's been really good. He got another goal today in the first period to get the Lightning off to a 2-0 lead. Second and third period, Detroit started to climb back a little bit, and they started getting some more pressure, building some momentum. Vasilevsky, though, was solid for the Bolts all game long, as he always is, which is what ultimately helped the Lightning get a 2-1 victory. Adam Ernie did pick up a goal in the third period. It was a great goal as well, to his credit. Made a great play going down to the ice, still got his stick on the puck, and able to make a shot when it was already behind Vasilevsky and push it in. So great job, Adam Ernie, there to get that goal for the Red Wings, and they did pick up that first goal, but it wasn't enough, though. It was too little too late as the Bolts held on and got the 2-1 victory. So let's talk about these positives and negatives from this game. Let's start with the negatives. There weren't many, to be honest with you. The Bolts played a really good game overall. I liked a lot of what I saw in this one. There's really not much to complain about. One thing that could have been better for the Bolts in this game was the face-offs. Lightning were only 40% when it comes to the face-off circle, and in the last couple of games, they've been over 50%, which is where you want to be in general. So only the first game we've seen this in a while, but something I would like to see get back to where it was before, because Detroit definitely dominated when it came to the faceoff circle. The only other really major issue for me in this game was the fact that they let Detroit start to come back a little bit in the second period. That's something that could have been better. They need to really try and play a full 60 minutes. We've noticed every time they have a really good start in the first period, it seems like they kind of just take a backseat a little bit. So it was definitely a lot better than it has been in past games, but that's something I still think the Bolts need to work on and try and elevate their game to play that full 60 minutes. Because when they're playing against really good teams, things could have gone the other way. Those other teams could have maybe gotten that goal, like we saw against Dallas, for example, when they blew that 2-0 lead. Dallas is a much better team than Detroit is. So the Bolts got that 2-0 lead, sat back on it, kind of like they did today a little bit, and ended up losing that game. But this time, the Bolts were able to hold on and secure that win, so that was a positive sign. Let's get into these positives, though, because there's a lot to talk about in this one. I think the first one we talk about is Ross Colton. He has been fantastic in his time up here with the Bolts. He's really showing why he deserves a roster spot here, which is going to make it really interesting once Mitchell Stephens comes back, which he has been playing for the Syracuse Crunch as of these last couple of days for a conditioning assignment, so he should be back very soon. Now, John Cooper has already kind of said that you don't lose your spot due to injury, so Mitchell Stephens should get right back into the swing of things. But Ross Colton has shown that he deserves to be in the lineup. So how short of a leash does Mitchell Stephens have? Does Ross Colton sub in maybe for some other players and still get to play some ice time? Because he's been fantastic. Another great goal tonight. That was his 4th goal in 11 games played for Ross Colton. He's been great, and he's definitely a bright spot and has a bright future here with the Bolts from what we've seen in this season. Moving on, Victor Hedman was also absolutely fantastic in this game. He was solid as always. He made a great defensive play that really proved to me that he is the best defenseman in the NHL. Detroit had a near breakaway there, but Victor Hedman was able to come in, make a play, never let Detroit get a shot off, and never got called for a penalty. Most defenders in that situation probably would have been called for a penalty, but use their free hand, maybe give the guy a little bit of a hook or a slash on the hand, something to that extent. Victor Hedman does such a good job at making sure he doesn't commit a penalty, but still disrupts the player enough to where they either can't get a great shot off or get no shot off. So Victor Hedman, solid as always. Vasilevsky, another one who was just stellar night in, night out. He did it again tonight. He made some great saves, especially in that third period, to keep the Lightning alive when they started to trail off a little bit and Detroit started to come back. Vasilevsky was a key reason the Bolts were able to hold on to that 2 2-1 lead. So Vasilevsky, great as always. One player that I thought didn't have the best game was Cal Foote. He's a young rookie, though. This is his first year in the NHL, so I can't jump on him too bad. He played solid for the most part, but there was one play where he got beat. One of the Detroit players just went right around him, and it's because of his skating. That's been the one issue with Cal Foote this season that a lot of fans have noticed is his skating isn't great. But again, this is his first year. We've seen guys develop a lot when they're playing with the Lightning organization. I have no reason to believe that Cal Foote won't do the same. So if Cal Foote can improve his skating, I think he's going to be a very, very solid defenseman in the next couple of years for the Tampa Bay Lightning. Penalty kill was also really good for the Bolts today. They were perfect on the kill as Detroit went over 2 on the power play. The Lightning actually didn't take a ton of penalties as well, talking about penalties here, which is a really good sign. They've been doing that for the last couple of games here. That's one of the biggest problems we have talked about on this channel. The Lightning took too many penalties, and today it seemed like they finally got a hold of it a little bit there and were able to take a step back and have a lot more discipline in the game, which is a really good sign for them. Gives their penalty kill a lot more rest and doesn't give that team always a chance to try and score a goal and either come back, tie the game. Because you never know, if Detroit got in a power play late in that third period, maybe they wouldn't have been able to get one in and tie this game ultimately. But the Lightning did not take any penalties, so great job by them keeping the penalties at a minimum. The power play, which did not have a goal today, they were 0 for 3. Despite that, I thought they played fine. They're second in the league right now when it comes to power play. They had some good puck movement. They had a lot of good opportunities, but to Christ's credit for Detroit, he played solid and kept the Bolts off the board when it came to the power play. So, not great. We'd definitely like to see Lightning at least get one on the power play, but they did have good puck movement. So the idea is there. They're playing well, and those goals will come. You're not going to score every time on the power play. But overall, this was a really, really, really solid game for the Bolts. Really not much to complain about. I'm very happy to see the Lightning get on a 2-game win streak now after dropping 3 straight. They're right back to where they were, which I think a lot of us always knew they were going to be. So we do have one fan question for this video, so let's jump into that one really quick. So this one comes from Connor McMinn. He says, what do you think about the Lightning's upcoming schedule, playing Detroit tomorrow, Columbus and Nashville on the road, and the Panthers at home? So yeah, it's an interesting schedule coming for the Lightning. I'll put it up on screen right now if you're not quite sure how the schedule is set to shape out. Obviously playing Detroit on the back-to-back here is always tough, and especially at a noon game tomorrow. It's a really early game, so we'll see if the boys are ready to go. Curtis McElhinney will be starting for the Lightning in that game as well, I would imagine. I'd be very surprised to see Vasi play in a back-to-back, especially in these 2 noon games. But then 2 games against Columbus, then Nashville. Now they have a 2-game break in between the Nashville games, which is good for the Bolts. They're not going to have to play a ton of games coming up here, and then Florida. So it's not a terrible schedule for the Bolts. Columbus always gives us a tough time. It's just one of those teams where we started to build a real rival in Columbus. And then Nashville, they've been better as of late. It'll be interesting to see how we play against them. But that 2-day break is huge for us. It's not going to be too taxing on us, I don't think. And then Florida coming up, and then back-to-back against Carolina. That's where it gets real tough right there, having to play Florida and then hit a back-to-back against Carolina. Both those teams are really, really good teams. So I think that's where, if anything, the schedule gets tougher. That's the place to watch. For these next couple of games, I don't think it'll be too bad. Definitely going to be some good opponents coming up here, but nonetheless, the Lightning should be able to handle it. They're one of the best teams in the NHL, no question. So that's going to do it for us, guys, in today's recap. Short one for you today, but we'll be right back at it when the Lightning take on the Detroit Red Wings again tomorrow at noon in this one. So be sure to leave any comments you have down below on your thoughts on this game. Always love to hear what you guys have to say. Be sure to subscribe to the channel and ring that bell for notifications so you don't miss out on videos just like this one. Follow us on Twitter at @Bay_Bolts so you can follow along with us in live game coverage. We always love to have you guys there and interact. We ask for questions all the time during intermission and ask for questions on this show as well, so you can get your questions in and have them answered right here on the show. So hope you all have a wonderful rest of your day, and remember, your Tampa Bay Lightning are your defending Stanley Cup champions.